Hi, I'm Megan Buell, and welcome to another edition of our safety segment. Today, I'm with Supervisory Agent Bryce Allen of the Office of Homeland Security. Bryce, thank you very much for being with us today. Now, you are in charge of training across the state, and I know one of the biggest trainings that takes place across the state is active shooter training. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, we offer a free 90-minute lecture-based program that talks about how to best prepare yourself if you were to find yourself in that kind of situation. Really, it can be applied to any kind of violent situation you might be into, armed robberies, carjackings. A lot of the same concepts and principles that we talk about in that program can be applied for those situations as well. We try to address things about awareness, about being alert to your surroundings, to even learning how to recognize indicators and people that might be going through something in your life that might start pushing them down that path towards violence. Okay. And then ultimately we give some options, we give some choices for people to apply if they happen to find themselves in one of those kind of situations. The goal being, of course, is that we just try to give as much information and prepare people as best we can so that they react, that they do something if that were to happen to them.
And of course, the big motto, run, hide, fight.
Yes, of course, absolutely. Now we advocate run, obviously. Run if you can, hide if you must, and then fight if you absolutely have to. And that's always our last option, but sometimes those situations might force you into that position. So we like to give all the options that are possibly available out there.
Unfortunately, we're kind of in a situation, the environment with our school systems across the country has just been incredibly sad. And I know that the governor came to our commissioner to work on the school safety plan, and the commissioner directly came to you as that subject matter expert when it comes to training and what that will look like for our schools in Tennessee to keep our school children safe. So can you tell me a little bit about the training that is going to take place and the school assessment plans that will take place?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we wanted to do was set a standard across the state that all schools will have in order to meet what we consider to be physical security. Okay. The doors, the locks, the windows, the structure itself, and how well that structure can protect the occupants, not only from an active shooter or some other kind of violent attack, but from storms, from floods, fires, everything like that. So we try to come from a really broad approach. So part of my mission was to set the standard on how schools would address their physical security. And we took into consideration things such as the size of the school, the location, past events, and we try to examine the vulnerabilities that every school has. Now, the challenge, of course, is that vulnerabilities are different everywhere. So this is a very broad program, and it's probably the scope of this program I don't think has ever even been attempted before. Mm-hmm. So our goal is to have all 1,800 plus schools in the state do a vulnerability assessment of their facilities and then examine the physical security, their structure itself, and how to best secure that facility against those kind of threats. Now, primarily, we are looking at this access management, right? Mm-hmm. The school's ability to keep unauthorized persons from getting in there. Okay. But again, we also want to approach it from a broader scope as well. So Absolutely. We laid out 89 criteria for schools to meet, and now we're currently training all the individual schools and as well as law enforcement agencies in those areas to do walkthroughs of those schools mm-hmm. and actually assess their physical security, rate themselves, come up with a very objective rating that says they meet the standard or don't, and then come up with a plan on how to fix that if they don't.
Well, you know, the communities have a great responsibility on their shoulders because, you know, this is a big deal with the governor, and this is now one of his priorities before he leaves office. And so with you, of course, coordinating these efforts across the state, tell me what you would say to parents. You know, we know that the training is taking place with the administrators and, of course, with your first responders in the area, being able to work with those administrators. But what would you say to parents? What advice would you give parents in light of what is going on in today's society?
One of the things I try to encourage people is that they can't live in this sense of fear or paranoia. Mm-hmm. Although we hear about in the media all the time, schools are safe. And that is the truth of it. It is a rare occasion that something happens in a school that's not controlled. Now, of course, having said that, we want to err on the side of caution. So right. Our goal is to increase the security as much as we possibly can. And I think this program is really going to do it. This program is going to allow schools to really take a look at their weaknesses and mm-hmm. then fix them. And the very broad scope of it, it's very aggressive, but I think in the end, what we're going to do is going to be very instrumental in keeping kids safe.
And you know, that prevention piece of getting students to to recognize and be vigilant about threats that could be going on in their school, listening to what other students are saying, looking on social media. A lot of times it's just right there. And if you pay attention, you can stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the thing that we talk about in our active shooter training is looking for indicators, those warning signs that somebody's going through something. And if we're alert to what's happening around us, we're paying attention to our surroundings, we're involving ourselves in our community, a lot of times we can actually see those warning signs, those indicators. And part of the program we're putting out in schools, where we look to, is having a mechanism in place, a way for kids and parents and the community to call and report something that they think is suspicious, something that's out of place. And then it allows us the opportunity to at least examine it, to investigate, and determine if there's any credibility to the threat.
That's great. Well, Bryce, thank you. We're really lucky to have you directing this incredible plan across the state. And of course, always run, hide, fight is that motto, no matter where you are.
Absolutely.
In an active shooter situation. So thank you again.